Welcome back to WCS Winters Round 8 in the Americas segment of Day 2. We are moving into our next match, third to last match of the day. As my name is Fear Dragon, I'm here on the desk with In Control. Seems like he's got some thoughts on his minds. What's up?
Jeez, thoughts on my mind.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I don't know. I got nothing.
Cool. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at those standings so you guys can see what is at stake on each one of these matches we have coming on up. Scarlet still sitting undefeated alongside Time, as Nate and I were just talking about before. Neeb now sitting 3-1, so he did drop that one series versus Time, but he's still looking pretty good. The guys at the bottom side of the bracket, we do see it's looks like Probe sitting 0-4 as Estrella was able to take that first game, but it's a three-way tie for I guess 7th, 6th, and 5th place between Puck, Massa, and Estrella, all sitting 1-3 right now. So these next couple of matches for them, it's their last chance to try and eke their way higher in the standings to make sure that they don't get knocked out here in the round robin and that they do get a chance to advance to the playoffs.
When someone says it's neck and neck, what do you think they're referencing?
I feel like this is going to go somewhere dark that I wasn't prepared for. But
I don't
horse
know why
races?
you would bring race into it. Yes, it's just horses.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
They're close because they finish based off of the length of the horse.
Ah, okay. You are the one that suggested the Ted Bundy documentary, so you've just brought my mind into dark places.
An expose on an important American figure.
Cool. In case you want to watch something that's not that expose, you guys can actually check out some of the other streams where all of the other games are going to be going on, including, I believe, Scarlet versus Time, it looks like, over on Base Trade TV. We have, of course, it looks like Neeb versus Probe happening over on Wardy's channel, and Zombie Grub is going to be covering Estrella versus Puck. Actually, all three of those matches look quite good. But we, of course, are going to be moving into Cham versus Massa, which should be a pretty interesting or close series. What do you think?
Well, right now I'm thinking Scarlet versus Time is the two undefeated players playing against each other.
Yeah.
But what's got my blood circulating at full bore right now is Massa versus Cham. Cham, it's an electrifying match. He's able to beat Special to get this far. Massa played that perfect battle mech style yesterday. Can he keep it up? Can he do it again?
Yeah, Massa played a really, really impressive series yesterday, so it is going to be a bit of a question if whether or not Massa can bust it out once again. I know that he was saying that a lot of his play style, it's like a lot of mind games. He likes to get in his opponent's head, but like you said, yesterday it was Massa just played really, really damn well. It wasn't Massa just getting in the head of Scarlet or anything. It was just Massa played and executed brilliantly. So if he can pull that out again versus Cham, I think you've got really high hopes for him. Otherwise, his usual tricks and stuff, I feel like they usually fall a little bit more flat against Cham historically.
Well, this game's loaded up, and I'll tell you what. Tricks are not just for kids. They're also for professional StarCraft 2 players.
Starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, the master of that bag of tricks. He is the red Terran player, Massa.
That's a very dangerous saying you went into. I'm glad you pronounced it very clearly.
What? Well, I'll find out when I watch the VOD. Starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player. He is Cham, representing Team Chivo, Mexican Zerg player. Pablo versus Maru. Maru is Massa, for those who don't know.
Pablo Cham Blanco. Do you know what Blanco means in Spanish?
White.
Incorrect.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
It means
What does it mean?
to blast. It doesn't. You got it correct.
Okay.
It is the 2 racks, though.
Just 2 racks so far. Well, he is going to go for the gas geyser as well back at home. Cham, I don't believe, went for any kind of drone scouts or anything. And it's kind of funny because Massa does have a reputation as being a guy who loves to proxy, who loves to do these kind of shenanigans. So Cham not going for the scout. He may end up regretting that, especially since he did go for the hatch gas pool here.
Yeah.
So a Marine is on the way.
Oh, there's not even upload here. Oh, boy.
Okay, so Cham may discover this when the bunker is pretty much finished. Now, Massa's going for the safer bunker. It's, I think, just barely outside the range of the hatchery. But the next SCV should be able to come forward and plant down a closer bunker that should be covered by the safe bunker. And there we go.
Right. And he can bunker micro that stuff too.
Marine gonna start working away at things. The Roachborn is already coming down. 4 drones being pulled. That is. Do you think that's like a few? Not okay. That was gonna say it's not really enough, but
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Back off.
He was never gonna do anything. You just don't pull him. He already was dropping the Roachborn, so that's already the strategy.
Yeah. Another bunker coming up over here for Massa. This really complicates things because at this point, you already know you're pretty much gonna get the hatchery. Your opponent is not going to be able to get up roaches in high enough numbers to save the hatchery, and also you probably want Ravagers, not just roaches, to try and bust through this. So as long as Massa keeps these Marines alive, he should be good, and he doesn't even have to commit to making more Marines. You can already see he's only making 1 more Marine, adds on a second one now, but it goes for the factory back at home. He can save up those minerals and just start transitioning.
Yep. You could honestly just float the barracks over there as well.
The roaches are being made on the low ground. That's kind of dangerous.
Ooh.
I mean, I kind of get it because like there's extra larvae there, but this could backfire. This roaches could get trapped.
It should be okay because the Marines don't fight against them very well.
Yeah.
When they morph into Ravagers, they're pretty defensible. I see your point. You're not completely crazy here, but I think it's okay. Oh,
one
man.
roach gets slammed off.
Well.
One roach for a Marine. That's definitely a nice trade for Massa. He's going to be able to soften up another one of these roaches. One roach getting morphed into a Ravager on the high ground. There's the second one. And I think that second Ravager being morphed in is actually just outside the vision range of Massa. So he doesn't necessarily know that it's being morphed in until now it's complete.
Yeah. Now it's time to salvage and get out. Go home.
Yep. You have the starport on the way as a command center just now starting back at home. And a tech lab finished up, so you can start that Banshee production, continue with the second wave of aggression against a Zerg player who's only sitting on 22 drones on 1 base and really can't afford any more damage.
No Nidus to bot up, nothing like that either.
Yeah.
It's just, he's going to basically break out of this, go across the map, and then there's going to be a Banshee and a tank, and then Cham will have to have a very hard look in the mirror and say, do I want to keep playing in this game?
Yeah. And here we go. Here's the bust through attempt here. He's going to be able to knock down 1 of the bunkers, but this is the problem. There's actually 3 of them, so he's going to be able to continue to whittle away at the health of those roaches and Ravagers. Even just removing some of the transfuse energy is going to be annoying for when the Banshees start coming in the next wave of aggression. And actually, he even gets out of there alive. Doesn't quite salvage the bunker, but the Marines going to try and retreat back home. And he might even be able to get all the way back home as he tries to hide them against the roaches and Ravagers here.
Yeah. Playing a little James Bond. Can do a little cheeky counter, I guess, and if there's any kind of drone transfer, they'll be in trouble.
Okay, so, I mean, how many Ravagers did we have? We have 4 Ravagers out on the map and 2 Roaches. He shouldn't really be able to bust through, and with the Banshee coming out, if Cham actually does decide to connect with the Roaches and Ravagers, yeah. Well, those Ravagers are dead. They're actually just going to get killed off by the Banshee. And that was almost everything that Cham had. So, not a good spot. Cham's going to double expand behind this to try and play some catch-up, but this is now a game in Massa's court. If Massa messes this up, then Cham will maybe have a chance to come back in this, but it is almost entirely reliant on that at this point.
Yeah. You said if he messes up, he may have a chance to come back, and it's almost entirely reliant on that.
Yeah.
You have become the safest commentator I've ever seen in my life, and I'm worried that I've bullied you into this position where you're afraid to make a statement.
Don't worry, Jeff. I've always been this safe.
Okay.
Listen, man. First thing I do, I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Some people put on music. I put on Tasteless.
You put on. I was just gonna say, actually, that was exactly where this is going. The book of safe commentating is tasteless.
Yeah. Got a couple more drones being picked off over here. Cham is sitting on 28. Oh god, that Spore Crawler is not even on creep. So it shouldn't get picked off there, but it still takes some damage. Now there's nothing at the 3rd. Yay!
I mean, and there's actually army moving out here because this is Massa. He's like, if I've got the protection of those 2 Banshees, then sure, I'll go ahead and snipe your 3rd.
Yeah, that's a very small Marine force to move out with, but I mean, there's still only 2 Ravagers and 2 Roaches out alongside the Queens, so Massa still has a chance to get something done with this. See, this is what happens. I take a risk. All right?
You're not wrong though. That's why I'm laughing. Everyone does this. It's fine. We're like, but like the last game was.
Now, guys,
funny.
this
Like,
game
Chrome's
isn't
not
over.
All right, so here's that quick tank push. It is going to be 3 Banshees now, but they're pretty soft. So I think what's important about this is maybe it doesn't get the hatch, maybe it does. It's just that it's continuous tax on Cham. Cham wants to drone up right now. He does not want to be making more roaches. Does not want to be losing units, because behind this, Massa keeps making 3 SCVs at a time. Holy Toledo.
Yep, Queens doing their best to try and transfuse through the siege tank fire, and he is getting pretty close to cleaning this up as he takes out most of the frontline buffer. The tanks are still whittling away at this army. The Banshee now doesn't have to worry about any detection being there, so he snipes off all the Queens, and with all the Queens sniped off, well, guess what? He can just continue working away at that hatchery until that next Spore Crawler burrows, or he could run into the Spore Crawler, you know.
Just die there.
Either one.
So that was okay for Cham. And obviously, if you look at the supply, you're like, well, hey, Cham's in great shape. It's 41 army supply, and that's 41 army supply that cannot really do anything. It's not going to go across the map and get any kills for itself.
He doesn't even have roach speed to put things in context.
It's mostly the worker count that you're looking at, and he's trailing by 10. So, of course, he's going to spend the next... Oh, never mind.
Nidus Swarm.
I just did it. He's going to spend the next time making drones. No, it's a Nidus Swarm, so he's going to go for this attack, and this is... the new world we live in, where like, okay, you just threw your army away, Terran player. Normally you're safe behind your tanks, but are you safe everywhere? But at the same time, if we play whack-a-mole, and those Niduses get denied, then I think Massa secures a very good spot for himself.
Does Massa have enough of an army to try and deny the Nidus Swarm? He has 15 Marines and 2 tanks, so the 2 tanks are both situated over by the 3rd base. That should
Stim, I think, though, too, right?
Yeah, Stim is finished up. Combat Shields not quite started up just yet.
And here's the thing, too. Massa's a smart guy. He sees very little saturation at the 3rd. Not much of a reaction. There should be some alarm bells clicking for him. And here's the sad thing for Cham. That's the one source of vision, that Overseer. So it's not even like a... like, this is not clever. This is not sneaky. It's pretty obvious at this stage, I think.
Yeah. Massa actually, he threw up a missile turret, maybe just thinking like, okay, he's burrowing roaches or something? Because I know you had a lot of roaches. Maybe it's like... a spire or something, but now the Nidus Swarm comes up. Massa has vision of it. He stims to get in position. There's a lot of roaches still at the front, but you know, Massa still leaves his tanks situated and defending his 3rd base, so he's gonna already whittle away at those roaches. Nidus Swarm is actually a bait and switch over here, but Massa's still prepared.
Yeah, and the tanks do so much damage.
Yeah.
Cham's got to be like, well, let's go to the next one. Oh, yeah, that's not gonna work either.
Now, Jeff, this game isn't over.
And then that's when it goes on.
Yeah.
It shouldn't, Ruby.
I know.
Like what you just said should have been the perfect timing for a GG.
Know. I thought I had that timed out so well.
30 SCVs more, 20 army supply, and Cham went with a Nidus that didn't work, and now he's walking across the map with roaches that are also not going to work. Like, if there ever was a time, it'd be loading up the entire army into medevacs like he just did, but there's still a tank behind this with any amount of bio at all.
And a nearly full wall. There might be a little bit of a gap there in the supply depots, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough for the roaches to even make their way through, so he has to work all through that. That buys time for a 2nd tank that's now going to be able to siege up in range. And here comes the rest of the bio that should easily clean up that roach force.
Well, that's not even, yeah.
There it is.
There we go. I was just going to say, that's not even the rest of it. There's 3 medevacs of army flying towards the Zerg space. That's nothing.
My final form.
Not my final form.
So, game number 1 goes Massa's way. The proxy racks just completely catching Cham off guard. Cham also a little bit indecisive about how he wants to handle it, like doing the drone pull, but then pulling back after he'd already thrown out the roach horn and stuff. It's already just a tough spot after you've lost the hatchery. Once the bunkers go up, like he's playing from behind, so I don't want to read too much into that game, but it did seem like Cham just really wasn't prepared for the shenanigans.
No, he got away with murder. It's a very inexpensive bunker rush too. By the way, it was 2 SCVs. You point out that it's only 2 barracks, so it's not that big of an investment. And not only did Cham not even try to detect it or think about it, it just caught him completely off guard. And then his reaction was like the standard one, which is fine. But because so many corners were cut by Massa, he already had a tank out. He already had Banshees. It just was never going to do anything. So I think it's nice that Cham can basically chalk it up just like you just did, where he's like, oh, okay, bunker rush, dang it, let's just move on to the next game. It should not tilt you too much, because Massa also does this like 1 in 3 games, 1 in 2 games. It's everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, what scares me is that Massa is the guy who will do this 3 in 3 games. He'll do it 1 in 3 games, but he'll also do it 3 in 3 games sometimes.
Like
so
Scarlet, yeah.
I really, I think the big thing I just want to see is Cham, please drone scout. If you're playing versus Massa, this is the guy next to like Maru that you have to drone scout for.
If not more, so yeah.
Yeah.
And he is Maru, actually.
His name is Maru. That is true.
Yeah.
The one true Maru, as they call him in Canada.
Oh, okay.
I'm not Canadian, so.
Good. We don't have a Canadian commentator, do we? I guess Rapid's pretty close.
I see Twitch trying to call him Zombie Canadian. She's basically.
She's pretty Canadian.
Yeah, she's pretty Canadian.
She's from Virginia, but that's basically the Canada of.
Starting down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we got the red Terran player sitting up 1-0. He is Massa, Team OSC Elite. Team has been on for a while now.
Yeah. They put on a ton of tournaments. They're great for the community.
Starting up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, former member of Team OSC Elite, but now on his new team, Team Chivo. It is Cham.
And I would, well, I was gonna be like, we should see a drone scout. There's not. He at least has the Overlord. No, it's not even gonna stay there. Okay. This is that. Oh, it is gonna stay there. Good, good. I was gonna say. So this is the double bluff of StarCraft pro gaming. It's like, all right, there's no way you do it again, right? And as we see, Massa's actually not doing it again.
You know, this is also one of those moments where I feel like it does, with specifically Massa, this is one of the times it goes even deeper, where Massa reads into this and says, well, he didn't drone scout me again. Game 3, do I go for the proxy? And then you kind of wonder, is that Cham baiting proxy for a game 3 or something? Who knows? Sometimes it's easier to just stop with it in mind games.
That's NA though, right? Or that's the Americas. It's just like so many mind games that they start folding in on themselves.
Yeah. I mean, there have been many a game that I've seen Massa lose because he goes to like the 7th level deep of the mind game, and his opponent
they only
never
have 2
actually
levels deep.
Half the time it's like with someone like Cham. This is actually the way that I see Massa sometimes losing to Cham, is that he will go Massa will go 7 levels deep, and Cham didn't even enter the 1st level. He's like not even in the building, and Massa just ends up killing himself with it.
Very Romeo and Juliet. Very beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a double suicide. Cham lives.
Yeah, that's true. See, now there's the darkness you're talking about.
It's rubbing off on me, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be the safe, tasteless commentator that just gets really dark sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's got to be your edge. Can't be the same. Whoa! Okay. Sorry, for a second I thought we were going to see a Reaper die, but obviously it never happens.
Yep, so Reaper will be able to regen those hit points. Still a ways off from Zergling's speed as well, so he can continue to be annoying. And because he gets over to the 3rd base location before 3rd base is thrown down, Cham kind of has to use some Lings and a Queen to try and protect that area. But Massa, looks like the Reaper actually did double back, so he's not going to be able to deny that 3rd, but trades it off to get some scouting information in the main? Maybe? No?
No.
Okay.
Scouting up there. It's a Ling kill. Now we'll dive in.
No, I guess there's no Queen over here until now. Pops out. Gets a drone, though. And wow, gets out of there as well. Wow.
Louise. Obviously, this is...
Is that a Marauder on the way? A Marauder just finished.
Did it?
Yeah.
Well, you're right. This is going to be the Marauder Hellbat.
Yeah. So this is a... I mean, this all-in has been around for a while, but you don't see it super often these days. You make a bunch of Marauders. The Marauders have concussive shells, so they can prevent the Queens from running back. They do the extra damage versus spine crawlers and that kind of stuff, which I think is less common also
tank well.
these days. Yeah, they tank well. And then the Hellbats clean up all the Lings that just try and jump in on the Marauders. It's a nice complementing composition for a big, scary all-in.
Cham will have the chance to scout this.
So
that Starport move was fake, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he didn't actually see a Marauder. Is that enough information?
I don't think so.
Because I mean, the Tech Lab could have just been researching Stim, right?
Not for Cham, like you said. He's not even in the building right now. He's just like can make drones, I guess.
Yeah.
Terran has buildings.
Okay, Massa adding on that armory now so they can eventually make the Hellbats. Still needs about another like 20 or 30 seconds before that armory finishes up. Another round of Overlord scouting comes in, and I think that I actually really want to see is that Barracks going to pop off a Marauder? Well, the Marauders haven't moved out. Massa's trying to do his best to hide him, and the next Marauder isn't coming out for a bit, so I think Massa's going to get away with this. At least hiding it, I mean.
Yes and no. I think the Overlord definitely saw Marauder move out.
Okay.
It does.
If he did, would you be throwing down all these Spore Callers, though?
No. You're right. Baneling Nest, drones. His
Yeah.
next production is going to be the one that's kind of curious. Well, he now sees the army, so should be that curious, I guess.
Yep.
Just the 2 Marauders.
Okay. And here we go. Concussive Shell is going to make it harder for these Queens. Some micro back. A Spore Caller comes in to try and help deal with the medevac, I guess. And it actually is doing surprisingly well at that. But the Queens are starting to go down. The Marauders are all still alive. And the Lings, well, they are going to get roasted and toasted really quick.
Yeah, they actually tried to go for a surround. With going for a surround against the Hellbats, even when you move that close, like that's pretty bad.
Oh my god, that medevac is still alive. Are you kidding me?
Might end up getting defended, and as it is,
Yeah.
Cham is actually up in army and in workers.
Well done, Cham. I was really skeptical of that at first, but he had so many queens. How many queens did he? He lost 6 queens. He still has 4 queens, so he had 9 queens total and is still making more.
Yeah.
That
underrated
helped.
subtle defense. We were like, what's the production cycle going to be? He's like, kids,
Yeah.
I've been making queens since the beginning of the game.
Liberator does siege up over by the 3rd base and snipes off a queen. The Spore Caller not quite in position, so a bunch of larvae going to get sniped off, and the drones losing some mine time.
Yeah,
Massa
but
has to do this kind of stuff to try and come back in this game.
on the other side, he says, you made so many depots over there, and you have no army. So
That's a bit of a problem. You know, 1 Marauder and 1 Marine got to hold the line here, and they don't. Spoiler alert.
Well, this is game-ending damage. It's not going to end the game necessarily.
I like that Massa sieges up the Liberator over there, but the Baneling explodes on the SCV, softening them up even more. A couple more Lings managed to make their way in, but behind this, Cham just drones up, makes a few more Marines just in case he needs them for some sort of counterattack. But yeah, Massa is at nearly half the work count of his opponents.
Yeah. And there's more Lings coming out, as well as 2 hatcheries. So there's going to be actually a macro hatchery and a 4th base.
That's really nice. How many kills is this Liberator at now? It's just been killing all the Lings that have been streaming on in. 13. Okay.
I've seen more. Not bad, though. It's a good start.
That's getting there.
Get back to me when it's 26.
Yeah. Oh, Massa gonna try. He's gonna stick it out. He does have 3 CCs, and that is sort of that magic number that a lot of Terran players rely on. But usually it's like, oh, I'm behind in workers and stuff, but I have 3 CC versus a Zerg player that's maybe on 3 bases. Cham has 4 bases, and like you said, that macro hatchery. He's got his upgrades on the way. I guess Massa is actually gonna be leading up in that regard with his just about to finish, so maybe he can make some magic happen. It wouldn't be the first game of StarCraft we've seen a comeback in it. And I think we've seen bigger comebacks in this one.
That's true. This would not be the greatest comeback of all time, and we have seen comebacks. Thank you.
Massa sitting up 1-0. That's actually better than Cham sitting up. There's a drop, I think, in the main base right now of Cham as we get a look. He is going to be able to snipe off a couple of these queens, stimming forward, almost gets a second one. Couple more Lings streaming forward. 7 drones going down so far between the drop and the Liberator, and 11 now. Wow, this is getting a lot of damage.
Not bad. And Massa is taking his 3rd, so he's starting to claw his way back in. But even after all that, 27 worker difference. So he's got so much more work ahead of him.
Oh, Hive on the way now here for Cham. It looks like he finished off the Infestation Pit a bit ago. And that means that he is going to be on track to get up some of those Vipers if he needs the Blinding Clouds. He doesn't have a Spire or anything on the way, so it doesn't seem like he wants to move into super fast Broodlords by any means. But Massa, the name of the game here is buy space for that 3rd base to get established, because he doesn't have a depot wall at the 3rd. He doesn't have anything there to really protect his stuff. And he still needs more units to actually win a direct army engagement.
Yeah. These are all good starts, though.
Yeah.
Getting a little bit of damage done. Pulling him away over there, like you said. Maybe you win some space to try and kill some creep tumors, or
snapping off
a Baneling.
Yeah. Hey, every little bit counts. Burrow going to be finishing up, and really looking forward to seeing what Cham's going to be able to do with those the burrowed Baneling potential. We do have a lot of creep spread in the center, though. So that's kind of where this gets a bit weird with the burrow play, because when you have really good creep spread, it means that your opponent's going to be scanning a ton to clean up that creep. So then the burrowed units usually get revealed, so it gets a little bit tough. But hey, those are some good trades for Massa.
Yeah, fantastic.
Ultra Cavern on the way. How do you feel about the Ultras in this day and age for ZvT?
I like them. They're not the go-to, but I do like them. I think they found a nice balance with them, because it's one of those, again, units where if you make them too strong, then they're ridiculously overpowered. If you make them too weak, then they never get used. The dream is this late-game ability for them to show up on somewhat equal footing to Broodlords.
Well, Massa, of course, he's been trying to do these drops, but lately, most of his drops have just been sitting, I guess, at the front, and he's been using all of his scans at the front as well, so I don't know that he has any idea how far along Cham is in tech. He might have some suspicions about it, but pretty soon he's going to be finding out firsthand, as chitinous plating is on the way, and I imagine some Ultras are not going to be too far off either from starting up.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of movement from his army, so I feel like this has got to be the big push. And strangely enough, Ultras, in this case, give Massa more of a chance. I still think he's completely dead and has been dead for a while, but his army, as it stands, has the ability to combat Ultras.
Whew, that Widow Mine hit. Not bad. Now the Widow Mine, maybe going to get a good shot. No. It saves it. And snipes off even more of these Banelings. Eats some of that damage to the face.
Oh, God.
Fourth base on the way here for Massa, and like you were saying, I mean, there is going to be that little window where it's just the Ultras, and the Ultras don't have chitinous plating just yet, but Ultras do take a bit of time to build, so Massa going to start charging forward, cleaning up even more of the creep, but he does seem like he wants to stay back, defend, get up his 3-3, and play out the really late game.
Yeah. I just... It's like the supply is not even that far off. Army's actually dead even. It's just situationally he's been in such a bad spot for so long. Now, as the game progresses, Cham is only up to 5 bases versus the 4 of the Terran. So, you know, if we stay at this state for a while here, then yeah, Massa climbs his way back into this. But Corruptors are coming out. There's this speed upgrade for the Ultras. And I do feel like once those things click and the Corruptors are shooting down medevacs unabated, and then Ultras are just chasing this mostly Marine army, I don't know how that's a win scenario for Massa. He's been going like Widow Mine behind this, but that's actually a poor answer for what he's facing here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, unless the Widow Mines are getting direct shots on the Ultras, they are just not going to do much damage to anything except for the Lings and Banelings.
Okay, this game's just over, actually. Right now,
yep.
Maybe?
We're going to see Massa probably stick it out until he loses more of his army, but he's going to lose his 4th base. That Planetary Fortress is going to end up falling there. And Massa, I mean, yeah, there's the Remax. I was going to say, like, why is he so close in supply? But there we go. Cham floods out 42 more Lings, 3 more Ultras. Ultra Speed is finished up, and Massa is just sitting on this 3-base economy versus a 5-base Zerg player. 3-3 about to finish up, so maybe Massa is just going to wait for one last kind of hurrah here as he starts up another 4th base. He has a bunch of tech labs also going down. Is he... Okay, he's just going to Marauder production. That seems to be like his answer.
The problem is he lost his 4th, and at the same time was presented with 2 problems that he has to like spend money to get an answer for. He's like, okay, Ultras, I need more Marauders at least. And then against those Corruptors, which eventually can become Broodlords, I need to start thinking about that as well. Can't afford any of it. So... yeah, he's adding tech labs, but look at the production. It's just more of what he already had, which was already inadequate. Massa pulled back, or not Massa, excuse me, Cham. And I don't think he necessarily even needed to.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that is... it can be a way to just say, like, okay, I don't want to overcommit over here. I'm going to get up my Broodlords and just really capitalize on that advantage and have a little bit of everything here. Be ready for that 2nd Remax. But... sometimes when you just allow your opponent also to remax out, even if they do have like an inferior army composition, you take a bad fight or something, things do start turning around a little bit. So I am a little bit worried, but hey, Burrowed Banelings, boom!
Oh my God.
Nicely done.
Was paying attention, absolutely. Massive hit there. 15 or so Marines. Again, the drops are amazing. This is what Massa does. He's just got fantastic multi-prong type attacks, good harass.
Yeah, killing a decent number of drones over here, but Cham is still at 77, even after losing 11 of those drones. And now all these Marines are going to mostly die. The Medivacs, I mean, they're in decent number right now, and I think with the Greater Spire finishing up, we got, how many? 5 Corruptors only. So it's not an overwhelming number. It's not going to be able to easily just kill off all the Medivacs super quick. But again, that Broodlord transition is still looming. Ooh, Bane, nope. Okay, Widowmine's not quite connecting on any of the Banelings, and slowly but surely, this Ultra's count is getting whittled away at. Widowmine doesn't quite connect with the Banelings there, but Burrowed Banelings, once again, taking care of the Marines. The Marauders managed to tank most of the damage there, but oh god, Banelings start making some better connections.
Yeah, and just the surround of the Lings right there can wipe out a lot of the army.
And now, finally, the Corruptors are coming into the mix. Parasitic Bomb, GG, Chivo's Cham ties up the series 1-1.
Yeah, the game was over for a long while there.
It was. Massa put up a good fight, and I think that's one other thing that Massa sometimes does well is like just doing the extra little things that it's not necessarily going to win him the game. But it puts your opponent in sometimes a little more frustrating situation where they feel like, oh, I can't close this out, or God forbid, they end up losing that game that they were clearly already had won, and that becomes really frustrating. They maybe get a worse score later on. So I think I like the when Massa at least sticks it out and just frustrates his opponent a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that so much as just he's the kind of player that can claw his way back in. Against Cham, who's also very, very good, obviously, the door was kind of slammed shut, and it wasn't able to happen. But against a lesser player, or if Cham's having an off day, yeah, those drops can start to unravel you, and some big Widowmine shots can bring you back into it. So there was definitely, I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here questioning why Massa fought it out. It's just that it's very clear that he suffered such tremendous damage that to come back from that, because he did a couple of amazing harass moves that killed like 20 drones and was still behind 30 workers, to give you an idea of how far behind he was. So it just took a whole lot more than what was in the tank, but it was good effort.
Yep, and I think that we do have some updates on some of the other matches that have been going on during all of this before we jump into game number 3. You guys can see over here that while we are tied up 1-1 in this series, Estrella is currently up 1-0 versus Puck. That must be a very, very fun match because I know those guys play in absolute metric ton against each other, both on the ladder and in custom game practice. Neeb took the 2-1 over Pro, but good on Pro being able to take one of the games off of Neeb. And currently, Time is actually leading up 1-0 versus Scarlet in the battle of the undefeated players in this round robin. Yeah,
I mean, Showtime in the bottom 2 of the last group, that's got to be the biggest shocker, but right behind it, and if not even more so, is Time tearing up North America. And a lot of, or not North America, excuse me, the Americas.
Yeah.
A lot of people look at this and still say, well, of course, he's a GM on Korea. Yeah, but Scarlet and Neeb are world-class players that finish at the top of big, big tournaments, which Time simply does not. And yet, he beat Neeb and now is on his way to beating Scarlet. If he can finish that series, that'd be pretty amazing. Big result.
Yeah, I know Scarlet also gives a lot of respect to Time. She was definitely one of the people that was in the Unity house while Time was there, and she got to spend a lot of time talking with him and kind of learning how good he was, and I know she hyped him up a good bit. So there's a lot of respect there. Scarlet dropping that first map. We'll see if she can maybe claw her way back in that. That is happening on one of the other streams. Not sure if that's on Wardy or Base Trade or Zombie Grub stream, but all 3 of those guys are casting each one of their respective games. So any of the players that you're not seeing in this series, anyone that's not Massa or Cham, they are actually playing on one of those other 3 streams, so be sure to load them up. I think we're just waiting on game number 3 to get started. It looks like the map is going to be Automaton. Massa opened up that first game with a bit of proxy shenanigans. Cham not going for the drone scout in game 1 or game 2. See if Massa is feeling like maybe it's an opportunity to go for another bit of proxy shenaniganry here on Automaton. We're going to be starting up here in the top right-hand corner of the map. Top of the red, Terran player from OSC Elite. He is Massa.
And his opponent from Mexico, it is Cham of Team Chivo.
Is it an alliteration if it begins with the same letter, Chivo, Cham, but it doesn't make the same sound? Actually, no, sorry. No, they both are CH. Yeah.
Got there all by yourself. Now you can see, you were saying maybe there was some mind game going for the proxy. I feel like Massa's making the right choice here, that it would be very obvious to go for that. And it is the early pool from Cham. So he is, he was counting on that. Now, it used to be we'd talk about this being like, oh my gosh, it's a mega all-in from the Zerg, but it's really not. It's just, it's obviously the slightly suboptimal opening if you're looking for macro, but it really shuts down any proxy play. So in this case, Cham's going to be found wanting, but it's not the end of the world.
Yep, you make a couple of lings. So with 6 lings on the way, we'll see if he goes for 8, because 6 lings, you're looking to guarantee a kill on that SCV that's trying to build a command center in the low ground. Maybe you can kind of get lucky depending on what your opponent does and you actually get a cancel on that command center. If you go for 8 lings, though, that's when you're really starting to commit and say, like, I really want to get some big damage done with this. So SCV Scout comes in, sees the early pool. Massa's going to be smiling and thinking, haha, you were maybe thinking that I was going for the proxy, but instead, he's still going to have the command center on the low ground, but he's going to actually try and get up a bunker. I haven't actually seen this as a reaction to it.
Yeah, he skipped the Reaper. So he's going to kind of want to do this, because if it is more lings and this just gets forced down, he can lose a weird game. So with the bunker, it provides multiple targets for the Zerglings to maybe have to focus on, but it looks like the timing of this is actually that it probably just finishes, in which case the Marines are now going to be enough to hold off the lings.
Especially since the lings seem to be going up along 2 different routes, maybe try and avoid the Reaper, but then he's going to see with the Overlord, there's actually just 2 Marines over here. And lings not, I mean, I was saying like 6 lings, you usually want to be able to kill the SCV building the command center. He's not even going to be able to kill a Marine, much less an SCV.
It's very interesting that he even tried that, to be honest with you. He's not making more lings behind this, so even if he did catch a Marine or 2, it would not have done that much.
That's cute. He uses if you're wondering what he's doing right now, Massa is using that command center to get high ground vision so he can snipe off that Overlord. That Overlord is juking those Marines around a little bit. Could he make a dart for it again? No.
He just then doesn't even go for it. He's actually not going to.
He was trying to go around from the other side, so like the Marines are on either side of that area, and he barely is going to miss it now. Oh boy.
Well, it's not the biggest of deals, but I'll tell you what, delaying orbital and lifting your command center to do that and then to not get the Overlord kill, it is, it's bad. It's definitely bad. If we had a good old-fashioned pro gamer here on the commentary, they'd be like, this game's over. No, you can't do that. That's terrible.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a feels bad moment at a minimum. Now, Starport's going to finish up. He's going to swap over to that tech lab, and we're probably going to be seeing more of those Banshees coming on out. But I do want to note that the factory has that reactor. It hasn't actually started Hellion production until just now. We got that next Hellion coming on out. And so far, Massa just made the 1 Hellion. Maybe a bit of a reaction, kind of, you only could afford one of the Hellions because he made the bunker even after skipping the Reaper there. But it looks like he's going to be going into a more normal looking game from here.
Yeah, for so far anyways.
Is he looking to throw down a 3rd CC? He's got that SCV poached in his main base.
Poached in his main base? Like an egg.
I'm a vegan, Jeff. How dare you?
That's right, you don't eat an egg, do you?
I do eat eggs, actually. But no one knows what an ovo-vegetarian is.
You gotta call yourself an ovo. I mean, that's so hipster, man.
Exactly.
Ovo
don't bother, man.
So what does that mean? Like nothing that's been delivered by birth?
It means you don't eat. It's basically a vegan that eats eggs.
Is there anything else?
I mean, I know that there are a bunch of different like types, but that's the only thing about that.
You drink the crow's milk by chance?
Crow's milk? No.
It's a healthy alternative.
I drink almond milk.
Oof.
As a responsible Californian in the middle of a drought, I drink the milk that requires the most water to create.
Does it?
Yeah, almonds require an absurd amount of water to grow.
Well, at least you're able to afford it with your caster salary, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Overlord Scout here in the southern part of the map, but as Ravi pointed out a couple of minutes ago, mostly a normal opening for Massa. It might get up there. No, the Marines will shut it down. I was going to say if you could see the 3rd CC, that would be something, but so far it sees a blinking add-on on a barracks, so he at least should know it is bio. And honestly, with the amount of Marines he just saw, he knew that anyways.
Yeah, and also seeing that the Starport was just now starting up that reactor, he's going to know that the Banshees are on their way across the map and are going to continue to try and put on a little bit of harassment. Now, Cham did already build his Spore Crawlers. He's got his Queens in place. We'll be able to get a little bit of damage done. Might lose one of these Queens over here since it was poached a little too far forward. But Banshees will continue to one-shot some of these workers, some of these lings. And this is something that I think Massa's really, really good at, is even after, of course, like every Zerg player in the world is super prepared usually for Banshees. Massa is always really good at just still finding a lot of little edges there, finding a couple extra drones. So you got to be careful. He's got some really good Banshee control.
And we're seeing that on display here as he delays that fourth base just a little bit longer. Queens will push it back. Third base being taken out. Baneling's speed is queued up here pretty early on as 1-1 melee upgrades for the Zerg. I was getting worried that it might be some kind of Baneling bust, but then there's like 3 more drones queued up. Still more lings though.
And Burrow also on the way. So Cham, I guess, pretty happy with the results of that last game in burrowed Banelings, although that last game was all off the back of Cham getting really far ahead and then closing it out. And the burrowed Banelings were kind of icing on the cake, if you will. So we'll see if they're going to be as effective in this game. Drops moving across the map here for Massa. You know, maybe pair up, hit 2 sides at once with the Banshees and also the drops. But creep spread is actually not that far out just yet. It's just in front of that 4th base. And Massa going to stim forward, going to catch a couple of creep tumors, and the Banelings still finishing their morphing in. The Baneling speed is going to mean Massa probably has to get out of here pretty quickly.
Next up goes the main.
I like the
Nicely
spore
placed crawler, yeah. Double.
Oh my god! Whoa, that medevac. That must have been some good focus fire as well. Target firing down the same medevac the whole time.
Yeah. A lot of Massa out in the middle of the map though, and that is again the Massa special. You think he's not being aggressive, but he just exactly is.
That was a pretty nice snipe off. Remember that even a couple of those Banelings died with that earlier push-in, so only 4 Banelings left out on the map, 7 more morphing in, but Massa, like you said, starting to come in. Cham getting ready for a massive flank. He has a bunch of lings on the north side, and he knows the exact area that Massa is going to be coming in from. The lings are trying to go for a bit of a wraparound. I think that they realize that the siege tanks are pretty vulnerable on the other side. There are 2 Hellions over there, but the Hellions only going to be able to delay so much.
Yeah, this is going to get destroyed. First Banshee dies, second Banshee getting low and will die. Tank's getting surrounded, and the Bioforce now without a medevac is off by itself. Supplies still looking pretty good for Massa though. It's one of those funny things where it's like this army gets destroyed, but it's about what it trades out for. And Massa up a worker or 2, equal in upgrades.
Oh, got to focus fire down some of those Banelings if he wants a shot at this. The Widow Mines are not burrowed in time. He takes care of a couple of the Banelings, but they still manage to clean up almost all of the Marines. Both the Widow Mines now on cooldown, and he's just relying on the reinforcements to come back. He will be able to clean that up. I do want to note that 2-2 for Massa, getting started a good bit later than he probably wanted. I think he was busy in the midst of the micro of that engagement, and maybe missed out on an extra like 20 or 30 second lead he could have had there.
Fully agreed. It's not going to be punished too hard though, because the upgrades of Cham are also pretty delayed.
That's true.
For similar reasons, I would guess.
Yeah. A couple of burrowed Banelings did manage to sneak their way onto that ramp. Massa not going to catch wind of it just yet, and actually was going to walk over some of these. Boom. And that is, I mean, a majority of that force that was actually moving out to try and clean up some creep. So Massa going to have a hard time just getting the damage done, probably with just one side of aggression.
Not again.
Oh, okay. And I think you probably would have been happy if it was just those 3 Marines for 2 Banelings.
Bioforce going to move over here and probably cancel that 4th base, which is not a bad grab.
Yep.
Actually, 5th base.
5th base, yeah. Hive Tech is about halfway finished up over here for Cham, though. So Massa is going to be hitting that same kind of timer as he did in the last game. Now, of course, his situation is a lot better, and I like that he's actually scanning ahead. He cleans up some of the Banelings. But again, that's also a little bit of a win for Cham. You force out some scans here and there, and now even if Cham doesn't go for many more burrowed Baneling plays, Massa's going to be alert. He might be wasting a couple extra scans just to deal with those.
Everywhere we look, just good moves from Massa here, and it's showing in the supply. He's up 20-ish supply. He's got Widow Mines of spots for countering Banelings. He's focused down that 5th base attempt again. He already killed some Banelings over here that were trying to disrupt this. And as you pointed out earlier, I will note the creep spread has not improved that much at all in the last couple minutes, which is going to become a continuous problem. If Massa can park in the middle of the map and push from there, these bases get sieged in short order. We already saw the behind the gold base spot. Yeah, well, with like 4 or 5 tanks and more of a Bioforce, that's a really hard spot to crack.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is because Massa's it's not just Massa cleaning up the creep spread. It's actually the fact that Massa is being so relentless and poking in so often The queens themselves are also darting back and forth, trying to clean up, trying to clean up all the drops and defend.
Yeah.
But they're not getting a chance to throw down more creep tumors. You can actually see just energy-wise, these queens are starting to build up energy because they just haven't had time to go spread creep.
Right.
Widow Mines. Ooh, getting some good, juicy connections. A lot of the banelings do get cleaned up, but this is definitely an overwhelming force here for Cham. But MaSa, look at that supply lead. A lot of this army is still rallying across the map, and you're starting to see that even though Cham's getting a lot of these nice pickoffs here, he's bleeding out his army slowly but surely.
Well, Massa's done such a good job having kind of a chain of units as opposed to everything's just right there.
A little bit worried over here, though. Not seeing a whole lot of the reinforcements in the midst of this trade. Banelin's going off on a lot of these SCVs, and that is a lot of dead SCVs all of a sudden. 22 workers killed off. MaSa going from the 70s down to the 40s.
Yeah, but double an army supply.
And that's the scary thing.
Though.
Yeah. If MaSa does get like a big Baneling, or sorry, if he eats a big Baneling connection,
sure,
or the Ultras manage to actually make something happen, I could still see Cham actually walking away in a pretty good spot here. But it is about, like you said, that massive army supply lead for MaSa. No, those will never hit.
Far.
Maybe on the retreat.
That's what he's hoping for.
Cleans up a lot of the Banelings. Widow Mines getting some okay connections. The Ultras are now here, but you can already see MaSa has been tailoring his composition to the Ultras. He actually dodges out of the way of the burrowed Banelings, whether he knows it or not. Deals with the counterattack at the same time and starts mining from the gold, which is acting as his fourth base, while he also sets up a fifth base and continues to push on forward. Are there any more Banelings left over? There's just those burrowed Banelings. Those are pretty much it. There's only 1 or 2 more Banelings left over.
Didn't quite hit the connection there, but he could hit this.
There we go.
So many good connections.
And MaSa still doubling in army supply. Yeah, he's still absolutely killing. Now, I actually think a lot of the army supply, I'm starting to realize, it's actually medevacs, Jeff.
Yeah, a ton of medevacs.
Which are great if you have bio on the ground, but he is gradually starting to lose that. He kills off the Ultras, though, and now he's starting to finally push Cham back a little too far. And Cham still just got only 5 or 6 Banelings left over, and these 2 Banelings, well, they might be able to get an okay connection here.
Not today.
Nope.
And there's no creep spread over here. That's the biggest issue for me. So he's able to pull back immediately off the space. So every time the Lynx Banelings show up, fine. He kites backwards, and guess who's getting the better trade there? It's going to be Massa all day long. Yes, he has too many medevacs, but to a certain point, that can it's below 40 supply for Cham in army. So it's like
Corruptor's not finding a whole lot of value. They're sniping off these medevacs, but it's actually just freeing up more supply for MaSa to remax on more bio. He cleans up another one of these Baneling waves and Zergling waves, and now the Ultra's left to fend for itself. MaSa, 100 supply up nearly, and it looks like he is in a really solid spot to make this tiebreaker go his way and add another point on the board for this round robin.
Yeah, I think.
Boom.
Well, there you go.
GG. Well played by MaSa. The 2-1 is going to, I think, get him in a pretty nice spot, because I think he was already sitting around somewhere between like 4th and like 6th place. So it was a little bit of a dicey area. I think he had a pretty good shot of advancing for the group and not getting knocked out. But now this will actually move him up into like a pretty safe spawn where there's going to have to be some weird math of like some people getting really, really close scores in order for him to actually not advance to the playoffs now.
Well, I think he was 2-2, and there's 3 people that were 1-3, so he's at least 3-2 now, which is, you know, head and shoulders above those 1-3 guys that are fighting for 2 and 3. So I agree. He's looking pretty good to advance.
All right. Well, let's